Want to know which Caribbean nations are the wealthiest and why? In today's video, we'll dive into the top 10 richest Caribbean nations, exploring not just their rankings, but also the industries fueling their prosperity. From tourism and energy, to manufacturing and financial services, we'll uncover what makes these islands thrive and how their economies are shaping the future. With data from the IMF and World Bank, we'll take a closer look at the GDP per capita of these nations to understand their real economic strength. Watch until the end to learn which Caribbean countries are leading the way and what lies ahead for their financial landscapes. Number 10. Dominican Republic. The Dominican Republic is solidly placed among the richest Caribbean nations, with a GDP per capita of $11,743 according to the IMF in 2025, reflecting a country that comes in just below the world average of $14,210. With an economy driven primarily by tourism, manufacturing, and agriculture, the country is seeing a growing services sector, with significant contributions from remittances, especially from the United States, which accounts for a large share of the country's income. This, combined with the robust GDP growth rates like near 5% recently, positions it on a path toward becoming a much stronger economic player if momentum continues. It's safe to say that the Dominican Republic's growing prosperity in the Caribbean is driven by its economic resilience and diversified industries. At number 9, Grenada. The Spice Isle of the Caribbean, Grenada, is known for its thriving nutmeg industry. The country has an impressive GDP per capita of $13,748, especially considering the country's small population of only 117,000 people. As we mentioned earlier, the export of spices is a major contributor to the country's economy, namely nutmeg and mace, for which it is a world leader. Apart from spices, the country's wealth is also driven by its tourism sector, alongside other agricultural commodities like bananas and ground provisions. Despite its small size, Grenada's diversified economy makes it particularly resilient, though the nation faces several challenges such as natural disasters and public debt concerns. But even then, the country's future seems to be in good hands. At number 8, Saint Lucia. Saint Lucia might be a smaller country, but it's definitely one with a strong domestic economy. The country's GDP per capita comes in at $14,498 and is our first country to come in above the global average of $14,210. St. Lucia's economic strength is largely driven by the services sector, which accounts for more than 75% of the country's revenue, with tourism accounting for 65% of GDP. But apart from tourism, the island boasts one of the most varied industrial sectors in the Eastern Caribbean, complementing its dominant tourism industry. Despite challenges due to an over-reliance on tourism, St. Lucia continues to experience solid GDP growth, supported by constant tourism growth and a world-renowned citizenship by investment program. And number 7, Trinidad and Tobago. We now come to a southern economic giant, Trinidad and Tobago, which stands out as one of the biggest economies in the region. With a GDP per capita of $18,444, the country's GDP has been on a steady rise despite some economic headwinds. The country's economy is heavily driven by its energy sector, being the second largest producer of natural gas in CARICOM and the second largest oil producer after Guyana, with oil and gas accounting for a third of GDP and the majority of exports. Beyond energy, key industries include the manufacturing of food and beverages, cement, and chemicals, which contribute significantly to the country's economic output, alongside sectors like tourism and financial services. In recent years, the country has seen slowing growth as the energy sector has been vulnerable to decreases in global energy prices. But experts believe it holds its place in the top economies in the Caribbean. By the way, if you're finding this video insightful, please like it and subscribe to our channel for more such videos about the Caribbean. Your support helps us create meaningful content for you. Thank you. And number 6, St. Kitts and Nevis. This is the first Caribbean country on our list to break the prized $20,000 mark. St. Kitts and Nevis GDP per capita comes in at $21,911, placing it solidly as a global middle-income country, in line with nations like China and Romania. Like many nations in the Caribbean, the country's economy is primarily driven by tourism, which is the largest contributor to GDP and employment, at approximately 30% of GDP, with other related sectors like real estate and hospitality accounting for another 25%. Additionally, industry, including construction and light manufacturing, contributes about 20.17% to GDP, while agriculture makes up a smaller portion, around 1.41%. While the country has demonstrated resilience and fiscal prudence, recording a budget surplus in 2023 and maintaining high human development rankings, recent concerns have been placed on the country's citizenship by investment CBI revenues, an important alternate source for foreign currency. At number 5, Antigua and Barbuda. With a GDP per capita of $22,630, Antigua and Barbuda boasts a strong service-based economy, heavily reliant on tourism, which accounts for about 60% of the country's GDP and 40% of investment, primarily driven by cruise ships, all-inclusive resorts, and yachting. Alongside tourism, the construction sector, financial and government services are also significant contributors. The country is also actively developing its blue economy, including fisheries and aquaculture, to diversify revenue sources. Post-pandemic economic expansion continues, with real GDP growth around 4.3% in 2024, improved fiscal balances, and a declining public debt ratio, although challenges remain with inflation and financing needs. Number 4. Barbados. Barbados is the first one to break the $25,000 mark. The country's GDP per capita is approximately $25,900, placing it firmly as an upper-middle income country. Historically reliant on sugarcane, Barbados, like much of the region, is primarily dependent on tourism, with it accounting for approximately 60% of its economy. However, the country is successfully diversifying its economy and has become a major player in offshore financial services and is becoming a key international business hub for the region. It has also seen growing sectors in life sciences, technology, education, and renewable energy investments. Despite its relative wealth and stable institutions, Barbados still faces challenges, including heavy dependence on imports for food, vulnerability to climate change, and inflationary pressures from imported goods. Number 3. The rising southern star, Guyana, has rapidly emerged as one of the richest Caribbean nations by GDP per capita. With estimates of a GDP per capita of $32,326. And not just that, the country is expected to surpass much of the region soon to take the top spot. This dramatic rise is largely driven by the discovery and commercial exploitation of vast offshore oil reserves since 2015, which has transformed the economy from one reliant on traditional commodities such as sugar, rice, gold, and bauxite to a booming oil-exporting nation. Guyana's economy is among the fastest growing globally, with it expected to become the richest country in the Caribbean by 2030. Despite its impressive economic surge, the country faces challenges including infrastructure deficits, governance issues, and ensuring that its recently discovered wealth reaches all its citizens. Nonetheless, the oil sector continues to propel Guyana's economic prospects, positioning it as a key leader in the Caribbean's wealth landscape. Number 2. There's no lie in saying that the Bahamas has been a long-time leader in the region, the northern tourism metropolis. The Bahamas is one of the richest Caribbean nations by GDP per capita, with an estimated GDP per capita of $36,783. Its wealth is primarily driven by tourism, which accounts for 50% of GDP, and financial services contribute to another 20%. The Bahamas has positioned itself as a luxury tourism destination and a major international financial center, attracting affluent investors and global investors with its tax-free status and sophisticated banking sector. Despite its relatively small population of about 400,000 people, the country benefits from political stability and a high standard of living for all. However, it remains vulnerable to external shocks, having suffered particularly hard during the 2008 global financial crisis. At number 1, Puerto Rico. And now taking the top spot, we have the richest Caribbean nation, Puerto Rico, with a GDP per capita just edging out the Bahamas at $38,605. As a U.S. territory with a population of 3.2 million, Puerto Rico boasts the second largest economy in the Caribbean after the Dominican Republic. Anchored by a strong services economy contributing just above 50% of the GDP, the nation is known as a solid destination for U.S. tourists and real estate. Puerto Rico is also diversified compared to the rest of the Caribbean, with a strong industrial sector contributing approximately 45% to its GDP, with the manufacturing sectors producing more pharmaceuticals and medical devices. Puerto Rico is also diversified compared to the rest of the Caribbean, with a strong industrial sector contributing approximately 45% to its GDP, with the manufacturing sectors producing pharmaceuticals and medical devices. Additionally, Puerto Rico has become an attractive destination for high-net-worth individuals due to favorable tax incentives, which have spurred luxury real estate and investment growth. Despite these strengths, Puerto Rico's economy faces significant challenges, particularly in infrastructure, public debt, and vulnerability to natural disasters. The island's infrastructure is significantly below that of its protectorate, the United States, especially when it comes to its electricity grid, having the least reliable power grid in the U.S. Additionally, public debt remains a concern following a $72 billion bankruptcy and a strained fiscal budget, only worsened by climate change. The Caribbean is a diverse region full of economic promise. From the booming oil industry in Guyana to the luxury tourism in the Bahamas, each nation has its unique strengths, abilities, industries, and challenges. But what stands out is their resilience and adaptability. While the path ahead is not without obstacles, these nations continue to shape their futures with innovation and strategic growth. The wealth of the Caribbean lies not just in its GDP, but in its spirit of perseverance and its potential for even greater success in the years to come. Here's to a future of prosperity, growth, and opportunity across the Caribbean. If you found this video insightful, we'd love to hear your thoughts. Which of the Caribbean nations do you think has the most promising future and why? And do you believe that energy resources or tourism will continue to drive the region's prosperity? Drop your answers in the comments below. We're excited to see your perspectives. Also, check out our video on the top 10 Caribbean economies in 2025. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to share it with your friends, like it, and subscribe for more engaging content. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you never miss an update. Stay connected with us as we continue to explore the Caribbean's journey to prosperity. This is Caribbean Focus, and we'll see you in the next video.